What is up? Fudge, let me start that again. Actually, do you know what? Let's just go for it. I'm doing a little rant today, and low key, I have to admit, I feel like I'm getting a bit paranoid about my channel because I feel like it's starting to turn into like a rant channel, rant or rant. I don't know. I don't want to spew too much negativity, but let's get into this video. And this video, low key, might be a bit hypocritical because let's just get into it. Let's not even. There's a kind of growing, not trend, but I can see a few videos popping up now that are low key like anti-podcasts. And specifically, when they say anti-podcasts, podcasts are jokes, whatever. But specifically the ones that are just like the nerdy ones, the ones where it's all about productivity and bullshit and like who cares, like. But specifically those ones where like it's just boring and you have like these nerds, people just trying to talk about just how to be more productive and improve your life. And I don't know why I'm a hater, because I myself, I don't think I would ever call myself a podcaster, but I have done a few like things where like there would be technically podcasts, but only one of them was genuinely about like productivity. And I was just such a nerd, but all the other ones have all been jokes. And I think that's the fun of podcasts. Like if it's like a jokes kind of situation, that's fine. Like I think it's cool. And again, my opinion doesn't matter because who cares? But I'm just saying what I think. But really, and I'm kind of outlining what a lot of the YouTubers have said because I watched a few of them and they're pretty spot on, I have to admit. And like, I mean, it took how many months or whatever for someone to really pick it up, and I feel like like there's a lot of people's points, thoughts, what these guys are saying. But basically, let's kind of just go over from like one or two points. But like, when I talk about these podcasts, I think what these guys, and you know what, I'm not going to just say what these guys, I'm going to put myself in that bracket too. What we're kind of talking about is more like people like Stephen Barnett, if that's even his name, or is it Bartlett? That guy. Andrew Huberman. Those guys specifically, I'm just like, there's some other guys, there's a ton of these YouTubers who just do podcasts. But let's kind of get straight to it. The first thing, this is the first kind of one that I personally noticed and realised. Well, there's two of them that I personally realised, and the other ones are more like, okay, that was kind of what I heard from other people. The first one is like, these are, it's like 4 hours. I mean, I'm being dead ass. Some of these podcasts are like 4 hours, right? And when it comes to, and they will get an expert in closed captions of these fields to talk about certain things, and they'll always ask the same questions. And from my point of view, and I feel like I've made this kind of point in a previous video, I think it's called Keep It Simple or something like that. But if I'm listening to a podcast about educational purposes, how do I say it? It shouldn't take 4 hours to listen to it. Like, it should be maximum, I don't know, like, really and truly, any point of view you want to give across, you can probably do it in less than 30 seconds on YouTube just by doing bullet points. But obviously you want to add a bit of context. But like, just 2 hours plus is just crazy, like, because then you have to kind of figure out, like, you have to, when you're listening to it, I mean, yes, you're probably picking up some of it just by listening, but again, I feel like a lot of the points are just kind of, falling through our brains. So that's kind of the first thing. I was like, this is 4 hours long. Am I really going to be absorbing all the information that this host has to say? That's the first one. And the second one that I observed as well, is that you have this guest, and this guest most likely has published a book or something, and then you'll see a trend where, and it sounds wrong, but they get this guest gets like passed around from podcast to podcast, and it is just like, it's embarrassing. I'm just like, this person is literally just basically spewing the same information, and it really is the same information, on like 3 or 4, even 5 sometimes, different podcasters' channels. So from the point of view of the podcaster, they're literally just all trying to essentially bid for this one guest. And the reason why is because it's kind of like supply and demand, right? There's only one supplier of this guest who is kind of getting information out there and is quite popular, and you have all these people demanding it, all these podcasters, so they obviously want to get them on as soon as possible so they can get the point of view. And it's just like, no, like, I don't know, like, I just don't know. From the point of view of the person who, like, the guest, are they not bored of just spewing the same shit all the time? I don't know. But that's kind of the main two that I observed. So yeah. The other one that I heard, which was like fair enough, was the kind of phrase where, like, once you've heard it once, you don't need to hear it all the time. And yeah, that's kind of the same old stuff, really. Like, they just spew out the same stuff. And I don't think it's bad. I just feel like, you know, it's just, I don't see the point of having them just go on 10 different podcasts, you know. So yeah, that's basically it. That's a little rant. And I feel like I'll probably get the question, how would I go about this situation if it was me? And really and truly, if it was me, or obviously, first of all, you probably have a team who is doing a crazy ton of research, looking at up-and-coming people who are doing good stuff, and then try and get them on first. But generally speaking, like, I'd want to just be original, not... I wouldn't want someone who's, like, famous, like, to be on the podcast per se. Or, you know, I'd probably want someone who's, like, up-and-coming, not even up-and-coming, just someone who... Actually, I don't even know where I'm going with this, to be honest with you. Let's start again. If you're going to be... Is the word empathise or whatever? From the point of view of the podcasters, yes, I get why they want all these... You know, why they want a certain kind of person. But I just don't know what else there's really to do. Maybe just try harder to find new people, or just find just totally different people who aren't trending, and just get people's point of views, you know, something like that. But yeah, and it's funny because someone pointed out how it was the Diary of a CEO, his channel. He had a guest on who was basically talking about processed food just being whack, and then he had like a actual advert halfway through which promoted the drink Huel, Huel, which is basically a processed drink that is kind of a meal replacement. I find that funny because they don't even believe what they say. But like, another kind of point as well is like, you know, these guys, they want all this information, they want to, you know, ask all these productivity questions, but it's like, I just don't understand, like, you're never going to be able to utilize everything. So what is the point? Surely just like, they overcomplicate. They want to know every detail of how to be productive or how to, you know, live to 100, whatever. And it's like, they're never going to implement it. So what is the point? I use a kind of analogy, right, with like university, in terms of, you know, university, you'll just go crazy in depth of these complex issues, but it's like, in the real world, you never really need to know this. Whereas, you know, let's talk about maths. You know, university maths is apparently just ridiculous. Whereas if you know the fundamentals of really basic maths, and I'm not talking about GCSE or A, I'm talking about like primary school, like percentages and things like that. If you know that to a T, then that's going to be way more beneficial for you, you know. And I think the same with these podcasts. You know, these guys go in crazy depth about, you know, the heart disease, and it's interesting, but it's like, you're never going to be able to utilize it. So I think when it comes to these things, you're literally listening through a 4 or 5 hour conversation, and you're going to take it with a pinch of salt. And it's like, you don't really want to do that, because you want to be able to really extract a lot of information. So I don't know. And then you might kind of caveat my point of view saying, but you listen to Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman, and yes, their podcasts are like 4 or 5 hours. Some of them is crazy, But the difference is they're just having conversations, right? When you're listening to them, it's not like you're listening to a freaking essay or you're listening to like a very rigid exam style answer. It's not like that. It's very much a conversation. It's very fluid, and they talk about random stuff. And then literally, like they're not really focused on productivity. They're literally more so about the guest and the general concepts, and that's why things like that it's cool to just listen to, because you're not there to really extrapolate all the information. Whereas it's exhausting to listen to like a 4-hour podcast about how to improve your eye health. So yeah, low-key is a bit of a rant. That being said, do I listen to them? I really don't. Like, what's his name? I listen to Lex, Joe Rogan once in a while, but Stephen Bartlett, I had like a few of his podcasts I listened to. I found it just a bit, I don't know. It didn't have much to really say. I was not really a fan of it, to be honest. But Andrew Huberman, who's just going crazy, like, nah, I can't. I'm not listening to that. So, but either way, good for them, because they're probably making hella money off it. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. I don't really know what to say. Like, genuinely, like, if they were to, and again, I'm a nobody, I don't know why it's just more like whatever. But if I was like famous, whatever, and they invited me to their podcast, I would say no. And like, even if I know I wouldn't be known for productivity or being a nerd, but even unless I did something interesting, whatever, I'm not talking to you, because it's just, I'm not answering my life. I'm not providing answers that are like essay style or very rigid, because then it feels like school, and school is rubbish. But yeah, that's going to end it for me. My voice is going. Let me know what you think down below, and yeah, so take care, bye.